Okay, so are you racing 70.3 Western Australia this year? If so, this is the perfect video for you because in it, two very experienced Ironman new certified coaches and a local expert are going to talk you exactly through the swim, the bike, the run, and the key transition things, and also drop in some great hints and tips about nutrition, packing, etc., to make sure you have an absolute belter of a race day experience. So let's get straight into who are we? Now, this is my bad because I got confused with my latest guest because my name is Coach Steve, and apparently I just want to be the only Steven in the video, but I have to move over a little bit to introduce my friend. But I am an Ironman U certified coach for over 15 years. I'm Triathlon Ireland Coach of the Year a number of years back, and I'm an aspiring YouTuber who do these race reviews videos. So this is for 70.3 Western Australia, and where I get to also interview local coaches, have all the subject matter expertise. I'm going to give you the belter hits. So while it says Coach Dave, that was just me being petty. His name is Coach Steve, and I'm delighted to have you on board. How are you doing, Steve?
Yeah, welcome. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's a lovely morning out here in Australia. A bit of the opposite end of the day for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long have you been coaching? And you're also a national coach of the year. Don't be shy now. We have to sell ourselves a little video.
Yeah, I am. I was the Australian coach of the year, age group coach of the year, I think 2 years ago. I run the St Kilda Triathlon Club down here in Melbourne and have an online presence with Davey Black Triathlon. So we've got athletes worldwide. So
fantastic, great, and great to have you on board. And again, what I love is that the commitment to coaching. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. He's doing a video beforehand, and he's got a swim squad coming up. So I have to get this video nailed down before people come up in what Australians call budgie smugglers, and we do not want to see that on the video.
Well, it is winter here, so they'll probably be in their wetsuits, but yeah.
Okay, but see, us Europeans just think of Australia as hot all the time. Weird.
Yeah. I
know. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to talk a bit about the swim course, which is a one loop course. So, Steve, tell us a little about the course of your athletes when they've done it. What's the feedback? Water quality? Wetsuit legal? What's the download?
Yeah, so in Busselton, Perth, this time of year, which will be the 1st of December, the race starts. It will be warm. It'll be probably high 20s. I've had a look there. I think it's estimated to be around 27 degrees on race day. So it's probably still going to be a wetsuit swim. The water generally doesn't get so hot that it's not a wetsuit swim out there. So that'll be more than likely wetsuit. The wind direction will depend on the day, how choppy the conditions get. It can get a little bit choppy, not massive waves or anything like that. But if it's a southeasterly, which I think it might be on the day, you might find a little bit of chop heading out. The swim course has changed over the years. I don't want to put anyone off, but the reason it did change, it used to be, well, the Busselton jetty is 1.8 kilometers long. So I used to swim out halfway and back for the 70.3 and the full length of it for the full distance. But there were a few shark sightings out there. So they've brought the swim course in and contained it closer to shore. There's a big net along the back end there that they have. So rest assured there will be no critters in there on race day.
What's the water quality like? As in shark free, which is always a good start.
Yeah.
Nice water and any.
The water quality is amazing. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. You can see the bottom the whole way. It's crystal clear. There's no smell or taint to it at all. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Cool. I do like crystal clear water. When I swam in Lanzarote, it does have this weird experience when you see other competitors' swim caps, because they all fall off in the swim. You know, see them on the bottom point and go, "What's happened to that guy? I hope he's in my
yeah. Wonder where he's gone."
Okay, and in terms of sighting points, it just seems like a straight out, straight down, and in, and all the rest. Is there anything to worry about sighting wise?
No, on the way out, you just use the jetty as your sighter. You don't really need to bother about too much. I think it's 200 and something meters out, 250 odd, and then you're turning left and you're going underneath the pier, the jetty. So the only thing you need to watch out there for is the pylons that hold the jetty up, but there'll be plenty of race marshals there making sure you're all good. Yeah.
Fantastic.
The small turn, you can see there on the left, the U-turn at the left-hand side is only 30 meters. So you've got two big cans to the side at. So you just need to make sure as you get closer, you're aiming for the right-hand one there, not crossing in.
Cool. Yeah, so it looks like it'll be a nice enough swim. Is there much of a run up from the beach to transition? You go obviously come out in the sand.
Yeah, out on the sand, across the road, and then into transition across the path. Sorry, the pedestrian path.
Okay, I must admit I'm a bit disappointed. This is I think my third Australian race that I've actually reviewed, and there's not one like you guys don't even call it an Australian exit. You've got all these Aussie exits, all these races in Europe.
Oh, the ones where you do 2 laps and you got to run across. Yeah, there's a few local races do that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So it's good enough swim, and as I said, there's in a bit closer to keep away from anything interesting. It's a rolling swim start or a seated swim start?
Yeah, you seed yourself, so you determine where you think you're going to finish, the pace that you're going to finish in, and yeah, you just roll in through, and the timing chip starts you across the mat.
Cool, excellent. I have this image now. I know it's not exactly what will be in Western Australia, but I love this image because it's from an American race, and it kind of gives a real clear image of how the rolling swim starts are put in place to make sure that to take away from the mass swim start, which used to scare the life out of newbies. So what Ironman do now is you'll turn up on the race day and there'll be big orange yellow signs that go under 30 minutes, under 35 minutes, under 40 minutes. And you place yourself, as you said there, Steve, into the right. If you know you're a 40-minute swimmer for a 1.9K swim, that's where you put yourself in. And as you also correctly mentioned, that your timing for the cutoffs and for the overall race only starts when you cross the mat. So you see that where these volunteers are holding everybody in place, and how the flow into the water works is in every 5 seconds a beep will go off, literally beep. They'll lift up arms, and then 3 or 4 swimmers go in. As you can see, these guys in the water already, and that's how they control the flow. What do you recommend your guys in terms of seeding themselves, Steve? Do you give them any advice about how to do it or tips on that one?
Yeah, so I generally tell them just to seed themselves a little bit quicker by a few seconds so they can try and sit on the feet of someone who's a little bit faster. And then, use that draft to their advantage rather than sitting themselves backwards and losing any advantage from drafting.
Yeah. I know it's a great tip, and the drafting is completely legal and sensible on the swim and an Ironman swim. We'll talk about drafting being legal on the bike, but sitting on someone's heels on their hip, they break the water, and you save yourself energy. It's like when you're swimming behind someone in the pool; it's just easier. So that's why it's key to get yourself roughly the same point. And so you put yourself in with really fast swimmers, they'll disappear, and the other guys behind you will probably swim over you. But if you sit in a 40-minute swimmer and you're a 40-minute swimmer, you'll end up bunching up as a little group, and you can work together and to make life a little bit easier. Cool. Any other tips for the swim, Steve?
No, just get there early, get to your position early so you can relax into it rather than rushing around and forgetting timing chips and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Cool. And we'll talk about when you get your timing chip and all that sort of stuff at the registration. We talk a little bit about the race timetable at the end. Now we'll talk a little bit about transition. The transition flow, as you can see, this map, and you'll see this in the athlete guide, and do look at the athlete guide. This video will give you lots of hints and tips, but there's always stuff that comes in the athlete guide. Have a good. You can see S is where you start, and that's our rolling swim start, which we've talked about, where you get in, and you can from the beach start. As Steve said, you go up, and it's a cut off here, but you go under the jetty, and then that green line here is when you come in out of the water, and then you'll run into transition. Single transition or split transition? What's the deal there, Steve?
Because the Ironman's on this day, they'll have 2 areas, separate areas for it, but it'll be very well signed.
Okay, so there's a single transition area for 70.3. Cool.
Yeah.
And it's numbered racks as well, I presume, in Australia.
That's correct. Yeah, there's numbers on the end of the racks, but it's always worthwhile going in there the day before when you're racking your bike and just picking out a landmark so that you can, an immovable landmark, so don't pick a van or something, but a tree or a banner or something that you can easily see as you're running up, so you can target that before you start having to worry about looking for numbers.
No, absolutely. And my biggest mistake in my first Ironman, I saw this absolutely beautiful bike as a Cervelo P5, and wow, I won't forget that bike. But apparently the man with the beautiful bike was also a beautiful swimmer, because he was long gone when I got there. Definitely the walking transition and walking the flow from where you come in from the from the swim exit into in your bike number. And
Yep.
another top tip, I believe this is what they do in Australia. When you no longer pick up a specific race number on the day. They actually, when you turn up, they print off the race numbers. Is that the same now in Australia?
No, they'll send you the race numbers come in your pack. So
Okay.
you pin, yeah, everything's pre-printed and done.
Fantastic. Well, actually, what they started over in Europe now, they print them off when you turn up. When you register, they print it off. So there's actual a benefit if you want to be all together in transition. If your mates all turn up, you'll all get the same.
Right.
Sort of, you know, which
interesting. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
If you come into Australia later on, I guarantee you always learn from Australians. Okay, so in terms of the transition, it doesn't use the standard Ironman transition bags, the blue and red bags. It's just you have all the stuff beside you in your rack. Is that the way?
Yep. Yeah, and you're not allowed to leave a bag in transition, so everything that you need for race day needs to be in there. A tip for especially Australian conditions, and especially in Perth when it could be, you know, high 20s, even low 30s, overnight deflate your tires. So when you rack your bike, deflate your tires slightly, and then in the morning you come along and pump them up to your race pressure, because very, very often you walk into transition and see people have the tires have exploded because they've just been sitting out in the burning sun all day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, and also don't worry about bringing track pumps. It's like there's always loads of track pumps, and the Ironman race will have them as well. No, great tip. And another tip for me as well on that: don't leave put food or water on the bike until that race morning, because God knows what sort of critters you guys have in Australia. They're always big and scary compared to us Europeans. But if you leave food out there, it's going to attract all things. If you leave water, and it's going to be horrible, moldy, especially, things will happen. So put things on the morning when you're doing your walk and you're checking the race tires. Cool. And in terms of any other transition tips you have for your guys coming out of the water, any other tips you give?
It's not a very, very long transition, but there is plenty of time to get your wetsuit off and down to your hips as you're running along. So take your goggles and cap off and get your wetsuit zip undone and try and get the top of it down to your hips before you hit your bike. So it's just a matter of sliding it off and going from there.
No, absolutely. And by the way, as I said, I'm doing these reviews for Europe and the US. In the US, you realize they have wetsuit peelers or wetsuit strippers. They have people that will take your wetsuit off, whereas us Europeans and Australians, we have to DIY. So it's
ourselves,
you got to practice that.
Absolutely.
Yep. And then also for me as well, I said, like, make sure you, for T1 especially, and make sure you take a little bit of time. Make sure you've got your race number on. Make sure you've got your helmet on before you touch the bike. Make sure you're not dropping nutrition, because you might save yourself a minute in transition, but then like mess up your nutrition strategy. Just smooth, controlled in and out. Okay, so you come to your bike and along this blue line, and then you'll be out on the bike course. Let's talk a little bit about the bike course now, Steve. And before we do, just hope you're enjoying the content, and thank you. We've got Steve up, and the sun is rising behind him. He's up before sunset, helping you guys out. So please check out his website. He's a super coach. As you can see, he's got a lot of really quality athletes down in Australia. If you're considering this race next year, check him out for a PB. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, because I do these race reviews and other Australian reviews. And also, if you plan to go to Europe to come and see our race courses, you can see all the videos there. Bike course. Talk to me about the bike course. Closed roads, good surface?
Yep. Yeah, closed roads, and the surface is really good. Perth has amazing roads over there. Don't know why, but their bitumen's really smooth, so it's a very fast course. It is interesting, as you can see. I think I counted 7 U-turns in total for the one lap, and I think there's 11 90-degree or slightly more turns and a couple of bends on top of that. So you start out along the coast. You'll probably have a slight headwind if you're heading to the right-hand side of the screen there, as we're looking at it. Head out along the coast, then you'll come back, and then you go into the Forest National Parks area. So it's a really nice ride. The environment around you is interesting. Just have to be aware of those U-turns. There are a lot of those sort of short exits off the main road where you have to come back and do a U-turn. So be aware of the gear selection and the timing of your eating and that kind of thing.
All right. It looks flat as well. I know these Ironman graphs always it kind of confuse things because they're very compressed normally on the athlete guide. It looks flat and fast. TT bike or road bike or disc? What would we recommend equipment wise?
100% TT bike. The disc wheel depends on the wind on the day and how comfortable you are and confident you are on the bike. I would say it's probably not going to be windy enough to bother you too much. So if you've got a disc wheel, then I'd probably use that as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, I agree with you. I only looking at these U-turns, I presume there's marshals shouting it out early that you're coming to slow down when they're waving the flag. Pay attention, guys, because that's where people, you've got up ahead of steam. You're hitting, there was a 30, 40K an hour and all the rest, and you don't want to lose it. But if you go into those turnouts too fast, you're going to come out the other end, and that'll be the end of your race. So obey the marshals. And if it's that flat and that fast, as in it won't take you long to get your momentum back up again.
Correct.
Anything else on the bike course, mate? Flat, fast, good service. Sounds like a PB course, maybe.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it depends on the wind on the day. Sometimes it can get very windy in Busso, but yeah, it's just luck of the draw. Keep an eye out on the conditions as they get a bit closer.
If it's windy, you make yourself small. You get down those bars. You minimize the frontal resistance. That's where the bars come in handy.
Yeah,
you're going to say something else there, Steve? Sorry, I cut across you.
No, I was going to talk about the transition where you can get your fuel from.
Oh, yes.
I think there's transition points at the 23, 46, and 67 kilometer points on the course.
Yeah, just a quick one for you. By the way, in terms of the cutoffs for the course, by the way, you've got 1 hour and 10 minutes for the swim, and for the swim, transition 1, and the bike, you've got 5.5 hours. But now we're going to correctly talk about the aid stations, which are key, as you know yourself, Steve. If you get your nutrition strategy messed up in a half Ironman, it's going to be a long day. So what we got 23 kilometers, 44 and 66. What typically are we getting at your aid stations in Australia?
On the bike, they generally have water, a specific, I'm not sure of what the brand they're using at Bustleton this year, but a specific sports drink. And then I think there's sort of muesli bars or lollies and that kind of thing chopped up, or gels available too on the bike. So it is a rolling transition. So you can ride past, grab the stuff that you want from the volunteers. But with that also comes a bit of a risk. If someone in front of you drops a full bidon of water or sports drink in front of you and you hit it, that could be end of day for you. So just be aware of people around you. People tend to come in a little bit hot, thinking they're in the Tour de France and grabbing the bidons. They are quite hard and quite heavy, and it's surprisingly hard to grab them first time. So go in there slowly, back it right off to 20 Ks or less. Make sure you've got the bottle comfortably before you take off, and just be aware of people around you dropping stuff. Yeah,
I'm all about communication. When I'm going in, I saw it in 70.3 Venice where I just raced it. Lads were slamming on the brakes, and you guys on big TT bikes slam on the brakes, come to a complete stop, and just taking out guys. And as you said, there's bottles dropped, there's gel wrappers, because you can rubbish. This is the one place you can actually drop your rubbish, and we can't chuck it anywhere else. And if you get spotted doing it anywhere else, you'll get a red card, which is perfectly legal, because we're guests in this country, and all the rest visiting the race. Do not be a dick. You only litter where you're allowed, and that's at the start of an aid station and end of an aid station. So plan your bottle emptying accordingly and dropping off gel wrappers or whatever's going on. So you're 100% right that this is probably one of the more dangerous parts of the course, because people, again, either TT or, as you said, I think they're in the Tour de France. So I actually have a video in the comments below that shows you how to do a bottle change, the do's and don'ts, and like just being, as you said, Steve, talking to people, making sure you're situationally aware, and don't ruin your day and someone else's day. So we won't go into that too much, but good tips already. Okay, so we've had a smashing swim. We've had a super bike on that flat, fast course. We paid attention to the marshals, and we fueled well. And again, by the way, in terms of fueling, I'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the video. But remember, you're fueling for the half marathon. People sort of get excited. I've only got 30K left on the bike. Rubbish, you're fueling for the half marathon. If you ease off your nutrition at that point, you're going to bonk on the run. So keep on it. Make sure you have your nutrition strategy listed out. So we are coming back in on the bike into transition 2. So this is this blue arrow here, and you'll come back to the where you have to rack your bike, and then you take your helmet off. What tips do you have for transition 2, Steve, for your guys?
T2 is pretty good. Just be aware of people coming off the bike and having jelly legs, so they're going to be running fairly slow, potentially running fairly slowly through transition. So be loud and let them know that you're there, and to keep left so that you can run around them if you need to. Yeah, rack the bike first before you get your helmet off. You don't want to get disqualified for something as simple as that. And yeah, get your nutrition for the run organised, whether you've got a race belt, the nutrition belt, or whether you're just chucking it into your pockets. Get yourself loaded up so you've got plenty of stuff out there on the course. Definitely wear a hat, sunglasses, and if you've got time, just grab some sunscreen and put it on as you're going along, because by that time of the day that you're out on the run course in Perth, it can be pretty brutal, the sun. So if you're not used to those conditions, make sure you're trying to keep yourself as cool as possible and shaded as possible.
No, absolutely. And again, one of the things I keep on saying in these, nothing good happens in transition 2, as in, so yes, get in, get out. And if with the minute, what you can minimize after getting your rack your bike, helmet off, runners on, anything you can do to keep moving, rather than the minute you sit down, you see people there stretching their legs and sort of going, no. And they're thinking about a half marathon. Rubbish. You get moving. I get my guys to have the sunglasses and a gel in their caps. So I said, start running with it. You take the sunglasses on, you're moving, you're heading towards this sort of run exit anyhow. And then you sort of go, and then you've got to the first aid station and go, actually, I've got my stuff together, but I'm already a kilometer in. So moving, smooth, controlled, and just don't fanny around. Maybe I'm going to make a t-shirt with that. I'm a big fan of socks, for dry socks. And I know it takes a couple of seconds, but again, blistered feet or wet socks are going to make a very long half marathon. Okay, cool. So this is the aid station a little bit for the run, similar to the bike station. Again, don't be a dick. There's 2 places you can throw rubbish at the start and at the end. Maintain that. They've got water, electrolyte, food, and cola, which is again secret weapon, and toilets. The aid stations will be 1.5 kilometers, 6.7, 12, 17.1, and again they tend to be on both sides, so never miss an aid station. And they seem to be very well stocked. They say they offer Gatorade, but I don't know what's happening in Australia. They've changed they've gone from Gatorade to Mortal Hydration in the US ones, and it's so that there will be an isotonic drink there. It may be Gatorade, it may not. It's still a little bit up in the air for the Australian ones. But never miss an aid station, even if it's keeping the pouring water down the back of your neck, using a sponge to keep your core temperature down, because it comes more a case of temperature management, because you don't have the cooling breeze when you're on the bike, and as you said, it's getting hot in Perth at that stage.
Yeah, definitely. So on the run aid stations, they'll generally have pretzels and watermelon, plus your gels and lollies and that kind of stuff.
Fantastic, cool. Run course. Talk to us about what's a run surface? Is it concrete? Is it a tarmac? Is it sand?
It's across a bit of both concrete and tarmac. Mainly concrete because you're running out along the foreshore. When you head out, like the support in Bustleton is amazing. So you run past a couple of pubs that are on the beachfront, and there'll be people in there drinking and cheering you on. There'll be people playing music out on the far right-hand side there on the map. You can see you sort of head out of town a little bit there. You can switch off a little bit there because there's not much happening, but you will come across people in their front yards, with hoses hosing you down and their boom boxes playing. Sometimes there's, kids playing in their little bands out the front. So it's a very entertaining course, and the locals are very supportive of the race. So you'll have fun.
Yeah, no, I love that. As I said, I just raced 70.3 Duisburg as well, and there's a lot of the German guys out with the hose, and it sounds like someone's going to spray me down with a hose. It sounds horrendous. We go, it's the most enjoyable moment of the entire race. You're thanking these guys and almost hugging them, but no, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
Of course, it looks lumpy with the map here, but is that just again one of our geographical confusions from the map?
Yeah, no, it's not very lumpy at all. It's very, very flat and very gradual ups and downs. So it's a fast, flat course. It's along the beach the whole way, so you've got the water to your left or right as you're going out. So you'll get a bit of a headwind heading out to the right of screen as we're looking at it there. A bit of a tailwind on the way back, obviously.
Cool. Any tips for the run course for your guys? How do you tell them to break it down? Do you tell them just belt it out for the 21K, or break it down mentally, or any tips?
Yeah, so you can stick, or it's a out and back course. So looped courses are good for trying to do neg splits, but always try and do a neg split where you can. Your coach, if you've got one, or your own training data should let you know roughly what pace you can run at. If you're running by heart rate, you really need to allow for the heat of the day. If you're running by pace, then you need to allow for, there's not much incline and decline there, so you don't need to allow for that too much, but allow for the headwind and that kind of thing. But yeah, neg split, go out conservatively, find your rhythm, get your breathing matching your footfall, and settle into the run. Try not to let the adrenaline of the people cheering you on get to you too much. Stick to your pace, and yeah, you should finish nice and strong.
Perfect. No, absolutely bang on. I wouldn't disagree with any of that. And again, any of my athletes to start, they come off and I go, oh yeah, but I had an absolute brilliant first 10K. And then let's talk about the other 11. How'd that go for you? Yeah. You want to finish strong, not like a burst balloon. And again, as you said, so neg splits are the way forward. So all in all, you've got between swim, bike, and run, and your 2 transition times, you've got 8.5 hours to do it. Pace it well, fuel it well, and then you'll have a super day. And this is what it looks like. Again, you've got to give it to Ironman. They do the razzmatazz well. Look at the red carpet. And as you said, the Busselton people are out and they're actually giving it absolute loads. So it does look like an epic race to do. And again, by the way, that's something you need to think of. Like, when I talk to my guys about the last 5-6 kilometers where it gets really tough, and last 10K, start visualizing the finish line. Think about your why. Think about your mantras, your statements that help you kind of snap into it. Yeah, sure. as opposed to questioning your life choices. Any like mental hints or tips you give your guys to kind of keep them on focus or on point?
Yeah, it's visualization the night before is always good. Visualize everything right from the start through to the end of the race. Visualize yourself doing it well and perfectly. And then on race day, if you've trained well enough, it should just come naturally, become muscle memory.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Okay, so a couple of things that we'll do to wrap up, because I'm conscious that it's Steve's swimmers are arriving. And again, this is when you're trying to coordinate time zones. We've talked about the importance of nutrition on the bike and the run and all the rest, and we could talk about that myself, and Steve could be here till cows come home. There's a video in the comments below to check that out. What to pack, what to make sure you're always worried, and don't be the guys on the forum going like, oh, does anybody have a Di2 charger or a Garmin charger? Check out this video, what to pack. There's also a handy downloadable checklist. Tapering, this is something, if it's your first Ironman, it'll drive you mad. This is when myself and Steve earn our money, where we get WhatsApp the first thing in the morning, the emails, I'm getting sick, I'm losing my fitness. Should I not do another long bike? It's 2 weeks out. Trust in your taper. This tells you what you're going to feel and how to deal with it. Last minute tips. Book your bike in for service. Read the athlete guide. Watch cool videos like this with myself and Steve. Got some great tips. There's some other things I put out in there. And those videos are all in the comments below. The race venue timetable, myself and Steve were discussing this, kind of key things that you need to do, as in you can check in and register on the Thursday beforehand, all the way up until the Saturday, the Saturday morning. What do you advice you give your guys about checking in and the expo and all the rest? Any tips you give your athlete first timers?
Yeah, first time, well, anyone really is try and do it, get it done early so that you can relax. If you forget something, it gives you time to go back in and put it there if you need to. Like you said earlier, don't leave your race day nutrition or bottles on the bike, especially in an Australian race in summer. It's going to just boil there in 20, 30 degree heat. So keep that kind of stuff with you. Bring it in the morning. Deflate your tires so they don't pop. So you pump them back up in the morning. And yeah, just allow yourself enough time to feel comfortable and be relaxed about it all. And yeah, spend some time around the expo, but you've got a big day ahead the next day. So try not to spend too much time on your feet, and just carry a bottle of water with you wherever you're going, and just keep sipping on that so you stay well hydrated.
Yeah, now top tip. I always tell my guys, get in early. As you said, there's no problem you can't fix for an Ironman if you give yourself enough time. If you've got your bike computer's not working or it's not charged and you need a charger, you have 2 days to fix it, you'll find one. If you have 1 hour to fix it, you won't. And about the expo, I tell my guys, look, do go to them, buy stuff, watch, see the other athletes, absorb the energy. But the same way that if you're standing your feet too long and you see people, he looks taller, he looks bigger, stronger. Look at the bike he has. It can be quite energy draining. And then also it's credit card draining because you go, oh no, that's nice stuff. That's nice stuff. And you're like, oh, 800 mad. No, absolutely. And again, that's what I tell my guys. There's also the options of practice swims in the morning, by the way, on the Friday and the Saturday. I'm just looking at the timetable here. So make sure you check that in. Some other key things to be aware of, that you have to check your bike in the day before the race. You don't check that in the morning, and that's when you will pick up your timing chip. So people register and they get the bags and they get the numbers and they go like, oh, no timing chip. You'll only get your timing chip when you actually see, when Ironman sees put a bike into the transition, because then they know that you're going to do the race as opposed to just turn up and get your bag. I always tell, put it on your left ankle and just leave it there for the day, because there's nothing more panic than an athlete who turns up and goes, I've left my timing chip in the hotel. My hotel's half an hour away. Disaster. And again, the most important part of the day as well, you will be getting the race day kicks off. I know you guys like to do it early, 5:37. That's like everyone's asleep at that stage, Steve. As in, you have to do
it's pretty hot by about 10 o'clock here.
No, yeah, that's when a great day race experience will start. And so, by the way, that's the Whirlwind Tour. I am conscious that that Steve literally has swimmers coming along. I do want to highlight that. Thank you ever so much, Steve. Because by the way, this is the first time I've done this, and I've seen the sunrise behind. That's kind of cool. Right?
There you go.
And then Steve has been an absolute legend, arranging his morning to give me the time and hopefully give you the time in terms of it. He is an absolute brilliant coach. I've talked to him a couple of times. He knows his stuff inside out. He actually trained one of my friends in Dublin a while back, and so I know and you don't become Australian National Coach of the Year without knowing your stuff. So please do make sure to hit him up with some. If you're looking for answers or you're thinking about it, looking for a top-notch coach, hit him up. There's his email address there. You will get that PB with him in your camp. But even for the moment, if you've got any last-minute questions, he's a very friendly guy. Just ping him a couple of questions. Put some questions in the comments below in the video, and we'll get to them as well. Because myself and Steve, the two Steves, want to have an absolute magic race day experience. Steve, any last words for the guys and girls watching?
Yeah, no, just enjoy it. If it's your first time in Australia, Bustleton's a great place to visit. The jetty's amazing. The locals are fantastic. It's a really nice race. So try and spend some time out in the community as well. Go and see a few things while you're there. Really enjoy the Australian experience.
You know, the terrible thing, I'm seeing these Australian races and they look absolutely magic, and I'm going, I'd have to go there. But then my girlfriend reminds me, I've got around 3,000 Aussie dollars worth of speeding tickets that I can't go. Like any European, you go down, you get all these speeding tickets after you come back and go like, all right, I'm not going back to Australia.
Never going back.
No, maybe they'll forget it in a few years and I'll pop down. But I'd love to do some of these races. They look absolutely epic. Steve, we're gonna call it there. Thanks ever so much for your time. And again, as I said, any questions, comments below, or ping this guy if you want to get a top-notch coach in your corner.